I think that the criticism is helpful. I also think that it might, I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super...
Local Council and Litter Pick 2.
Racism thrives on capitalism. The back of racism is capitalism. And they say about education, we need a black militia. When I say that, I'm not saying it because I want people to fear and think we're coming violent. What we're saying is, you push, we push. You fight, we fight. Peace is not peace until you recognize our life. And we're not going to lay down no more. I'm not going down on a knee. I'm always going to be 10 toes standing. Just like my ancestors, 10 toes standing. No justice! No justice! Take it to the streets! I can't hear you. No justice! No justice! Take it to the streets! Take it to the streets!
You can't stop the revolution! 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 You want us to get behind your system? We are going to burn this down. Make some noise out this bitch.
Shit.
What was that?
Yo, is everybody okay over there? Holy shit. There's a cop that, I mean, excuse me. Holy shit.
Is absolutely appalling. You know, really what you're seeing is the forces of US imperialism combining with racist America, you know, the two most worst and destructive appendages of one of the most powerful capitalist countries in the world. So if we're going to talk about violence, I think we need to talk about the system that perpetuates it.
Now, I think our job as revolutionaries is to try and turn that phrase revolution, and that we need a revolution, into something a bit more concrete.
In order to
I'm not going to
dismantle the same nation that is deemed legitimate, we kind of have to destroy it.
We said, you know what, fuck the property, fuck the consumption, fuck capitalism.
Utopia. The question was answered when we interviewed Jaden Grayson, one of the leaders of this movement.
Every single day that I show up here, I'm not here to peacefully protest. I'm here to disrupt until my demands are met. You cannot rebuild until you break it all the way down. Respond to the demands of the people or prepare to be met with any means necessary. By any means necessary.
That's not just a slogan.
No. No. No, it's not a slogan. It's not even a warning. I'm letting people know what comes next.
Last year. But why would a co-founder of a group that supposedly cares about black lives and police brutality be cozying up to a dictator with such a horrendous record? It's worth...
Certainly do. So can you just get straight into what you think Black Lives Matter and Antifa are all about? Where do they come from and why are people getting down on their knees to them, literally? What are they? Who are they, Terry?
Well, this is all too familiar, Rowan, to FBI agents who worked the Weather Underground and the Black Panther Party back in the 1960s and in the 1970s. And the FBI had a major effort then against both of those groups, those organizations, because the Black Panther Party was actually tied to at least 36 murders of police officers across the country. It had a 10-point plan, and essentially its 10-point plan was the same plan that today Black Lives Matter is pushing. And no one has read what Black Lives Matter has written as far as their plan and their charter, but it bears a great similarity to what the Black Panther Party was saying back then. The Black Panther Party was a Marxist, Maoist, Leninist organization, and that came from Huey Newton, one of the co-founders. He gave a speech in 1970 at Boston College, and he said, "We're standing for nothing more than the total transformation," very important two words there, the total transformation of the United States government and America. And he went on to explain that what we want to do is take the tension that already exists in Black communities and exasperate it where we can, maybe create situations if we need to, but take those situations where there's a tinderbox and literally light the country on fire. What would be the issue? The issue would be police racism, police brutality. This is back in the 1960s and early 70s. And so today we're seeing that same thing. Let's cross over for a minute to the Weather Underground. Weather Underground was headed by a guy named Bill Ayers. The Weather Underground was responsible for over 2,000 bombings of federal facilities, attacks on police officers, government installations. They had an explosion, in fact, one time in Greenwich Village. It killed some of their own people. It was a bomb factory in the middle of the city of New York. So they don't care a whole lot about people's safety. What they care about is this. And this is why this makes no sense, what is going on today. Because those of us who have a logical brain and think of things rationally would never think about this. But to them, it makes a lot of sense. Today, we're seeing the third revolution. They tried for the second revolution back in the 60s and 70s. Today, they think they can make this happen. And that's why Eric Holder, even in an interview a few years ago, said it's time for a third revolution in America. So you can see that all of these things are building, and the same issues that the Weather Underground advocated and put in its Prairie Fire Manifesto, a terror manifesto which was aimed at overthrowing the government of the United States, is now what we're seeing play out today. The only thing that's different are the names of the groups, the personalities. But interestingly, there's a great difference today, a major difference, and that is today they have essentially taken the inside. They have integrated the philosophy of the Weather Underground and the Black Panther Party into the Democratic Party, the mainstream of it. And I'll give you one example, and then I'll just stop for a minute. The Weather Underground and the Black Panther Party hated capitalism. Of course, if you read the CPUSA, the Communist Party of the United States manifestos and websites, they hate capitalism too. The Soviet Union, the old Soviet Union, the current Russia, the Chinese, they all hate capitalism. So do these people. AOC made a comment not too long ago. She said, capitalism is irredeemable. Bernie Sanders ran for years, ran twice, on the idea that it's time for a political revolution and capitalism doesn't work. And what you're seeing now is people on the outside who are kind of violent. I mean, I know they call these peaceful protests, but gosh, can you imagine if we'd had arsons and looting and vandalism every time there was a Tea Party protest? So there's a whole standard that's different now. This is the outside. This is the violent part. On the inside, the Democratic Party is ready to take what is happening here and say, look, all Americans believe this. It's time to get rid of capitalism. It's time to force on you climate change. It's time to change your entire economic, political, and while we're at it, your religious structure and your free speech and your Bill of Rights and everything else. And that's what this is really about.